No, I meant if anybody asks questions. All right, we're just about getting ready to get started. So for those of you watching, we appreciate you showing up. And thank you for joining Coretium Media for the How to Create a Marketing Strategy webinar. Today we're going to get into the details of, first off, why it is you need to have a marketing strategy and how to go about actually creating that marketing strategy. A few things to kind of think about prior to it is understanding why it is you need to have a marketing strategy. Everybody knows I need more customers, I need more sales, but you really have to focus on what output you're willing to do and in reality how much money you're going to spend on it. Also remember that any time spent on it is actually money as well, so you've got to kind of take into account how that's going to do it. Now, there's a few questions that we'll go over. I will go why it is you have a marketing plan, how to go about creating it, and then looking at the marketing budget. So it should be about 25-30 minutes long. Feel free to go into the live chat and send any messages if you have questions along the way. I'm Nick, by the way. This is Naz.
Ruben, hi.
So, the why. First and foremost, it allows you to understand what your customer really wants and what they're willing to pay. So, if you have the greatest product in the world, but you're charging £5 million, you have to understand where your customer's at as far as how you're going to do your marketing plan. One of the second things that you have to go into is who your actual customers are and where they hang out. Is this an online? Is this offline? Do they do a little bit of both? And that really breaks down to, are your customers, potential customers, coming in via word of mouth or traditional print, newspaper, radio, television adverts, or is it more of a truly online where you have the opportunity to do things like streaming ads for YouTube on something like this, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads, Pinterest ads, kind of goes across. This will help you figure out which tools and which kind of strategy you'll use when implementing your marketing goal. And when it comes down to the marketing, you have to understand as well is what is your actual true end goal. Most people's end goal is more customers, to be wealthy, and to retire early. I mean, that would be great for me. But you have to look at each set of your goal as a stepping stone. So when you're building out your marketing strategy, you have to do it in points. You have your 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. And then after a year, you don't have to do it in months anymore. You can start to do it building per year. This will give you the opportunity to have statistics to base off how your marketing plan is going, and B, it will give you kind of that kind of roadmap, I guess you would call it, to where you need to go and how you need to get there. We can use that marketing plan as kind of your guide on what you're going to do moving forward and how much money you're going to move. Now, one of the main things, especially with small, medium enterprises, is having a true brand identity. And part of your marketing plan is creating that brand identity. That means a logo, and it's a logo that's used across all online and offline marketing. Colors, that seems like such a small thing, but for brand guidelines, you have to know, okay, the colors we use are these, and you have to know the actual print colors and the digital colors. They are actually two different things, so make sure you kind of figure that one out. The second thing that you have to really understand is, and this is probably the most basic and not thought about thing, is what font you're going to use. The typeface that you use for your business is crucial because it gives three things. It will tell your customers an idea of your tone of voice and who you are, and if it's legible. I've worked across multiple industries for many years, and I've seen logos and typefaces where I had no idea what the brand was doing. I couldn't even read the brand name. And it became more of a, oh yeah, that's that one squiggly brand name. So really kind of focusing on that. Now it goes down to starting. You have all this information, you've made all these notes, but now you go, okay, where do you start? Best way to start is to kind of look at where your current customers find you. So if you go through and look, to be completely honest, the best way is just to ask. You can do survey using something along what lines of SurveyMonkey. You can, if it's like a traditional brick and mortar, ask the customers that come in. You'll have regulars that come in. When you're spurring conversations and building it up, just ask them, hey, how did you find us originally? What was it that drove you to us? Was it a Google search, or were you walking by? Did you see one of our leaflets? Little things like that will help to find out where your customers will find you. It will also tell you where your strengths and weaknesses are as far as your current marketing strategy. If you have absolutely no current marketing strategy, and you're, what do we call it, spaghetti?
Throwing spaghetti against the wall.
Exactly. There comes a time when in any business you just throw everything against the wall, and whatever sticks, you go, yeah, that's the plan I'm going to go down. That can be a strength or a weakness. You got to understand that that can sometimes backfire because of trends, time of year. If you're a seasonal business, there's a lot to kind of take into account. So it's really good to just sit down and write out, okay, this is where the customers come in from. If you've been in business for, say, 2 years or 5 years or more, you can look and see what trends you've had from the past. If you're a new business, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you kind of have to go with a almost spaghetti strategy to start out with. You're not going to know where your customers are going. You can always go to find your competitors and see kind of what they're doing, and like to say borrow, never really steal, but you're borrowing the strategies that they're using. And one of the things I always tell our clients is, if you're going to borrow something that's already being done, just do it better. Let's be honest, Google didn't create AdWords. They stole them from Yahoo and just made them better. So if you can do something better than your competition, nobody remembers the fact that you borrowed it. The last thing when you're evaluating how you start is kind of think about, and this is a tough one, but think about what kind of issues you may face. Whether it's things like budget constraints or competition running specific ads, or the economy, depending on what business you're in. There's little things like that that you might want to, I won't say foreshadow because none of us can see the future, but take into account that those things might happen. So now it gets into the how. Well, once you've figured out kind of where your customers are, you need to start creating a plan on how to go about them. The best way to do this is to break down your audience, and I mean by demographic, age, gender, earnings, and location. Some of those things can be easily pulled via like Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, and Twitter Analytics. So make sure you're looking at those tools in the back end, because you can get an idea of A, who you're connected with, B, the kind of people that are coming to your website, and C, it gives you kind of an in-depth like overview look of who you're currently reaching, and that could be your core demographic, especially if they're constantly coming back. If you're running an online shop, or if you're a like brick and mortar or a restaurant, look to see is how often they're coming in. You'll find that customers, some customers become those key A1 customers. The past I ran a business, and I knew I could tell you every single day who was our A1. And I knew it for a fact because I could see the trends of, if we had a new launch of something, those were the first ones to buy. And I would go through, and those were the ones that I would highlight. By using your marketing strategy across the board, word of mouth is still a great way to uplift and gain some sort of traction when it comes to validity as a brand and as a company. Trust is, when spending money, is a huge thing, so you want to make sure that you take care of those A1, because those are the people that in turn will refer you and kind of send some out. So putting together programs for them can be part of your marketing strategy as well. You want to reward specific things. You can do a points program, however many orders somebody purchases. If you're a walk-in shop like a yogurt shop or a sunbed shop or a restaurant, you can do punch cards. Little things like this spurs people to continue to come back, and that's what you want. It builds up brand loyalty. Now you need to consider kind of what your marketing goals are per quarter. I'd say every business owner shoots to the moon, and we know how much money, well, hopefully you know how much money it takes to keep the lights on, to keep the rent paid, to pay your employees and do that. Now you've got to realize that all of that money that's already going out, you have to take a chunk of that now and make sure that you're investing it back into growing the brand, and that's that chunk of money that's going to go into it. So when you look at your marketing strategy moving forward, you have to think, okay, realistically with this overhead, how much can I afford to spend, and what kind of return on investment do I need to have? I think one of the biggest problems that I've seen is people have I want to send out 5 Facebook messages and get 50,000 customers.
We can get 50,000 customers quite easily, can't we?
Well, apparently.
We know a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy. I can get you 50,000 likes tomorrow. But the reality behind it is this one, is you need to set your expectations. Think about how much business you can actually handle over a certain period of time. And then in turn think, okay, I'm currently at this mark. If I get to this mark, it's going to be this much money, and that's what my goal should be. This is probably something that a lot of people don't do, but write everything down. And I don't mean put it on a spreadsheet and do this. I mean actually physically write it down. And the act of writing it down, you're making a contract with yourself. And this doesn't have to be something that you share with anybody in your office or any of your employees. But what it does to you is, by you writing that down, it gives you the opportunity then to check back on it. Because you might put it in a spreadsheet and go, okay, here's the numbers. But you will go back to where you wrote that down and see if things have changed from there, or if they got a lot better or a lot worse. So,
like having an ideas book.
Yeah, in a way, it is like building up that ideas book. Now that we've figured out what our goal is, we want to increase sales over the next quarter by 15 to 20%. Now you have to think of the channels and tactics that you really want to use. Now, when looking at your overall marketing strategy, you have so many different inputs that you have to have. This is your opportunity to have an output. And we've identified where your customers are at. We've identified whether online or offline. Now you can look to, okay, do I want to run leaflets? Do I want to run flyers, mailers? Or is it going to be a traditional online or a mixture of both? If you go with the online, you need to start looking into which ways will be most cost effective for the ROI you're looking at. Now, there is so many avenues to go down. If you have a business that relates to a specific demographic, you can look at something along the lines of lead gen ads through Facebook. If it's more of a business that caters to professionals, you look at something like going to LinkedIn. If you want to brand your business, look at something like Twitter. Twitter ads are still let's be honest, the jury's not out on Twitter ads. The conversion rate on Twitter ads is not as high as they are on Facebook or Pinterest or LinkedIn. But for branding perspective, brand recognition, Twitter is a good one to at least be on and be active on. If you're a online store, and I don't know if any of you watching have figured this out, but Pinterest has now updated their ads to where it will go directly to your cart. So if you run an e-commerce store and you have specific products that you want to put out there, you can actually post it onto Pinterest running their ads, and when they click on it, instead of it going back to your website, and biggest problem with going back to your website, they can get lost, they can get distracted, they can do whatever else. It directly sends, like if they're on your website and put it in the cart, it sends you right to the cart. So the conversion rates
will hopefully be higher.
well, they're extremely high as of now, but it's still in its infancy. I think Pinterest has been doing that in the States for about a month and a half, and the rest of the world under a month. So the data that they've collected is still minute, but that is a great way to show off and showcase things. Now, if you're going for more of a younger demographic, you got to really think about things like running ads on Snapchat, Instagram. You can run ads on different dating apps. I know I've seen some ads for things like through Tinder. I don't know any of the other ads. I just
Bumble, they've even got their own business connection, so it's there as initially as a love match service, but they've also released a business match thing. So instead of swiping right for someone who you'd like to go out for a drink with, this is swiping right for someone you would like to maybe
network with.
Have a business connection with. So these dating apps are really stepping up their game.
I had read an article recently on the Tinder because the Tories were actually running ads on Tinder.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
I just went through and I went, wow, okay.
Yeah, so some of the dating ads, they've gone from...
I don't use dating apps, so I don't know.
Yeah,
no idea.
Neither do I.
Been married far too long to be doing that. But that's the kind of things you want to think in. There's a broad spectrum of places to spend your money, and in reality, the money can go very quickly. So you have to be very, I wouldn't say hesitant on how you spend your money, but in a way frugal, because you want to make sure that that money spent does go out. You also got to understand is there's two options. You can A, hire a marketing agency to kind of take care of all of this, or B, you can do it yourself. Now, doing it yourself or hiring somebody on, you got to think about the cost that goes behind that. Hiring somebody on, that's another salary, that's everything else you got to pay out. If you plan on doing it yourself because you're a small business, you need to justify the hours that you spend doing it. I said it at the beginning, but I'm going to reiterate it now. Every minute you spend on marketing is a minute lost on selling potential to customers. So you have to really think about that. And to kind of break the mystique and the aura of marketing, marketing just gives you leads. It does not actually create the sale. It's your product, it's your service, it's your customer service, it's your customer relationship and the customer experience. You might have a really cool product and your website might be absolutely horrible. People will go there and they will leave because the UX is not great. So now it gets into, do you even have a website? Is your website mobile optimized? If you didn't hear the news, Google has changed the way that their algorithm works. They no longer rank your website on how it looks on a desktop or on a laptop. It is only ranked on how it looks on mobile. So if your website is not mobile optimized or built for mobile, no matter how much money you spend on SEO, which we'll talk about next, or PPC, which we'll talk about next, it's not going to matter. You're going to continue to end up with Jimmy Hoffa on page, what do you say, Hoffa's on 12?
15, I think.
Okay.
I thought last time, yeah.
There we go, Hoffa's on 15. So that takes care of kind of the web development and understanding, okay, I have a website and it works or it doesn't work. It's really easy. If you have questions regarding whether or not your website's mobile optimized, feel free to send an email to info@coretiummedia.com. We can do a speed check for you, test it out, make sure that everything is functioning how it should. Now, search engine optimization. Ruben, you have a very good analogy for what SEO and PPC is.
I would describe, we always say SEO, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and PPC is a sprint. And I'd also say that if you were to do SEO and PPC and you were to choose two athletes to do it for you, if you were choosing to have SEO, I'd choose Mo Farah. If I was having PPC, I'd choose Usain Bolt. Why? Because Mo Farah is the endurance athlete. He'll keep going. It's like I said, it's a marathon, so he will keep plugging away for that long time. Usain Bolt will get you to the finish line as quickly as you want.
So when you're thinking about your SEO strategy, it's about pulling specific keywords. We all think we know what people search for when they find us. For the most part, that's not a reality. You need to turn off everything and actually think of yourself as a customer, not as a business owner or that you work for it. A good rule of thumb is to have friends or family do searches for your product or service in your area. And what this allows for is, for the most part, they're going to search in their own way, which will help to create which keywords you want to go after. And then it's about building that SEO strategy, making sure that whatever you're doing, if you're hiring an agency or if you're doing it yourself, you're doing it all white hat, not black hat. There's a thing called the Panda Effect, which if you want more details, you can send an email to info@coretiummedia.com. It was something that kind of, when it hit, I think it was something around 39 to 48% of the websites in the world went from the first page to the 8th page or something.
Because of
Something crazy like that, because they were doing against good practices for Google. We all live in a Google world, and we must abide by Google's laws.
all hell Google.
Exactly. Now that we've kind of talked about SEO, it's PPC. Now PPC, it's about having a strategy, working with your PPC management, whether you're doing it yourself. I will tell you now, running PPC for any company is a full-time job, because you're constantly looking, you're constantly bidding, you're constantly changing. You're looking at what keywords are working, you're adjusting your ads on the fly. It's a very time-consuming
Budget.
yeah, it's a very time-consuming operation. So that's something to kind of take into account. Now, all of this is great because it's driving traffic to your website, but what if it's one of those things where you're not capturing them anyway? So you have no way to reach out to the people that have actually come to your website, shown some interest, but got distracted or left. There's two kind of ways to go around it. Now, off of the PPC, you have what's called retargeting. Google and Facebook and YouTube, Yahoo does it as well, Twitter does it as well, pretty much all of it do it. There's things called cookies. Now, all of your websites have to have cookies on it. It's a little thing at the bottom that says we have cookies for this, that, and everything else. Ours are we ate all the cookies or something along those lines. You can check it out at coretiummedia.com if you haven't been there and see what our cookies is. What this allows for is retargeting, meaning somebody has come to your website and searched out something. Say it was a yellow umbrella, and they got distracted, they didn't get to the payment form, and then they went to Facebook. And all of a sudden now, because you have retargeting ads turned on for Facebook, they see your ad for that yellow umbrella on there. If you want to see a cool infographic, animated infographic, Naz, where's it at right now?
The infographic man.
What, the infographics?
Yeah, the one that we did yesterday.
Well, that's on all the social channels.
All right, so you can find us on Twitter at Coretium Media, facebook.com/Coretium. Also, you can connect with us on LinkedIn, Coretium Media. And to see that infographic, I believe it's also on YouTube and Vimeo.
Yep.
All right. Now, the retargeting is something that's a little bit unique, and it's launched over the last about year or so. And if you ever have searched something on Amazon and then all of a sudden went onto Facebook and saw an ad for that, that's where that retargeting comes in. So we've talked about the PPC, we've talked about SEO, we've talked about kind of different social channels, but now it leads into offline, because when it comes to offline, there are still traditional forms of advertising that do work, i.e. mailers. I know we all have the little sign that says no junk mail. We still somehow get junk mail. And it might not relate back to something you want, or it might relate to it. It's really a hit and miss, and that really is the spaghetti strategy when it comes down to it. You're just sending out 10,000 mailers. I know here in London you can get the joggers that do it. I've hired them before.
Or a bit like the pizza menu you get. You may not want it today, but 2 months down the line, I fancy a pizza. Oh, I remember.
2 months down the line, for you it's every week.
Okay, I know Dude versus Doe, but that's another video you can watch.
But you also got to think about as well is there's different opportunities as far as something like product exhibitions, marketing at events and trade shows. If you work in an industry where there are trade shows or marketing events, those are really good things to show up to. Booth rates can depend on how large an event it is, but that's the way to push the flesh, actually shake hands. Do that thing that everybody wants to do which is talk about your business. I think one of the most rewarding things for me in working in marketing and running an agency is to sit down and talk to clients about their business. Because I can ask one question and they will talk for 30 minutes. Because you're proud of your business, and you should be. You work hard to keep it running, and so you'd like to talk about it. And from our perspective, it works out great because we get to learn all the information that we need to know to help you create a marketing strategy because you've told me everything about your business. So don't be afraid to do that. Talking to people. One of the last things is, and we touched on a little bit earlier, is actually understanding your marketing budget. Now, when it comes to working with, say, an agency like us, info@coretiummedia.com, take into account that there is a cost for the services provided, i.e. running your campaigns, whether it be PPC, SEO, social media, and then also the ads costs. So there's a specific cost that Google charges, or Facebook charges, or Twitter charges, LinkedIn. That's on top of that. That's how many ads you want to run, and depending on which demographic you're in, which market you're going after, which keywords you're trying to hit, you need to take into account how much each of those ads are going to cost you each time somebody clicks it. Now, it's a toss-up because a lot of people will say, I'm paying for these clicks, but they're not generating me leads or return on investment.
That can depend. Like people could be clicking. That could mean maybe you've got a good ad, so people are interested in the ad, but where they're being sent to, it's not maybe what it was in relation to the ad, hence why you have...
You're not converting the traffic.
Yeah, so one of the things is, this goes back to channels and tactics that you use. When you're running these ad campaigns, and if you're doing it yourself or if you're working with a marketing agency, make sure that there's cohesion between all the ads that are going out and your actual website or where they're sending them to. When it comes down to an entire marketing strategy, be sure to A, write everything down, do some research, talk to people, and stalk your competitors. And I don't mean that as in a watch them everywhere they go, but pay attention to ads. I always say follow them on Twitter. Liking them on Facebook can be a bit cumbersome. Facebook's got some cool analytic tools in the back to where you can actually stalk your competitors, but you won't have to constantly follow them. And think about what value it is that you want to bring from your marketing strategy. For most companies, it's just sales, 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 which is totally understandable. It's totally fine because that's what keeps the lights on and that's what keeps us all getting paid. But you have to realize as well is it's a building process. So as leads are generated, it gives you the opportunity to tweak and change your message to A, get more leads from that same kind of demographic, but B, know that, okay, they got here, they liked something about the site, let's talk to them, let's get the information of what they did like, and therefore tailor the messages towards your customers. Last thing I want to talk about prior to letting you guys go, because we've already been going for about 35 minutes or so, is to talk about tone of voice, which is all-encompassing when it comes down to everything. This is why I saved it for last. Understanding who you are as a brand. I think a lot of people think they know who they are as a brand. They portray themselves as a brand, but the tone of voice on their website or their social media doesn't reflect what they're trying to do. So again, this is the cohesion between all of your marketing. Is your tone of voice is kind of the rock steady of your marketing. So if you're wild and crazy, read our About Us page.
Sorry, I got in a lot of trouble for that, but it was worth it.
Those kind of things can help to put forth the image that you're putting out, and that will in turn go through with your brand identity, with your colors, your logo, the font typeface that you decide to use, and then your marketing strategy moving forward as far as which channels you want to kind of coordinate through. So thank you for tuning in for this webinar on creating a marketing strategy. If you have any questions, feel free to send an email to info@coretiummedia.com. Be sure to follow us on all social channels, Coretium Media. And if you really just want to talk to Ruben, because he likes to talk, feel free to send an email to sales@coretiummedia.com, and Ruben will get right back to you.
I will.
I guess.
Bye.
Bye.